In your name, amen. As we continue, we're going to first have a video from Carrie, and then Carrie will come up and speak. Oh, the kids. Kids can go. Thank you.
It is so great to be here. Got my cheat sheets right here. The power of camp. It is amazing. I don't know, that video, I don't usually get to see it. I'm usually standing here and it's playing behind me. It's awkward, but it's just amazing how camp can change lives. And Camp Sonrise Mountain is no exception. I'm going to go over some of the details. I know it's kind of fast-paced in the video, but we'll go over some of the details in a minute. But I want to say, first of all, it's so great to be here and to see so many familiar faces. And even though the kiddos are gone, it's great to see the campers and the future campers. Gosh, those two little kids of yours, they are just adorable. They all are. Can't wait to get them at camp. But anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I'll just tell you a very little bit about me because this is not really the Carrie Dix show. It's all about camp. But I am the executive director at Camp Sonrise Mountain. After working many, many years at Seven Springs, God decided that I needed things shook up a little bit, and he wanted me to step way outside of my comfort zone. And so here I am. 2019, I was called to Camp Sonrise Mountain just about 2 weeks before camp started, and I just kind of jumped in with both feet, and if there's any such thing as trial by fire, I walked right through it and had no idea what I was doing. Fortunately, camp was already planned that year, so I didn't really have much to do as far as that went. But I had spent pretty much my entire adult life at Seven Springs, and started working there in the bank way back when. Took a little brief hiatus, worked as a teacher's aide for a little bit with Kathy. That was fun times. Cafeteria duty was great. We loved it. But anyway, It is crazy how time flies, and we don't often remember what things were like when we were kids sometimes, and I feel like I sound like my grandma, but anyway, I want to share this scripture verse with you. It's taken from the book of Mark. It's chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, and it says, "The beginning of the good news about Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of God, as it is written in Isaiah the prophet. I will send my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way. A voice of one calling in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Lord, make straight paths for him." So anyone, I've got to say there, Diane, I felt much like it was the Oscars or something coming up these things, and I'm like, please don't trip, please don't trip, please don't trip. That's my whole thing. And then Diane comes waltzing down the center aisle, just like, but anyway. Anybody who lives here in southwestern Pennsylvania knows that we have to be prepared. I actually just saw something the other day that said that Pennsylvania actually has 10 seasons, and I wrote them down because I knew I wouldn't remember them. But we have winter, we have fool's spring, we have the second winter, and we have the spring of deception. Then we have the third winter. I'm pretty sure that's what we were just in last week. And then we have actual spring, that hopefully today is a start for that, or yesterday actually. Then we have summer. Then we have false fall, a second summer, and then we have actual fall. And then we're right back to winter again. So we know that we have to be prepared, right? We have to be prepared for snow. For ice, for sleet. Last week, we really did see all that stuff: snow, ice, sleet, hail. We had hail. I don't know if you guys did. We have power outages. And just as a brief side note, for anybody who attends Camp Sonrise Mountain, we are getting a generator installed here in another couple weeks, because we can lose power multiple times, and it only starts when the campers come. I'm telling you, it's 4 weeks. We have storms, we have power outages, and then the rest of the time, 2020, perfect summer. We had no rain. It was sunny all the time. We had no power outages, and we also had no campers. So, I don't know, Satan is always trying to mess with us. So, how many people here have been campers at Sonrise Mountain? That's great. How many people here have kids or grandkids who have been campers at Camp Sonrise Mountain? Yeah, that's good too. How many people have future campers for Camp Sonrise Mountain? Everybody should raise your hand, because even if you have grandkids or anything, you need to send them to camp. I asked the question about how many people had been at Camp Sonrise Mountain, campers at Indian Head a couple weeks ago, and somebody didn't raise their hand and said, "You didn't say before it was Camp Sonrise Mountain," because she's in her 80s and she went when it was called something else. But anyway, if you haven't been there, I highly recommend you come just for a visit to camp. Is there anyone who hasn't been at camp? No, I'm not going to put you on the spot there. Hopefully you've all been there, but if you haven't, I'm going to share some slides with you so that you'll see what it looks like there and some of the things we've done. But I promise you that if you come, even for a brief period of time, when you leave, you will feel so refreshed and so renewed, and that's the goal. And then I think that it'll give you an idea of why camp is so important to so many people. And so, all right, the clicker's gone, right? Okay. All right, we're going to go with the first slide, and that is welcome to Camp Sonrise Mountain. It really is a beautiful place no matter what season we're in. Here you see the chapel, and that's where our campers gather for morning worship. They have their music rotation there where they learn all of the fun camp songs. I don't know if you guys know, I imagine you know Days of Elijah. It is a favorite of the campers, right, Kaylin? They love it. They do all the motions, and they just get so excited about it. But this is also where they meet for the consecration service, which is one of the most meaningful parts of camp. So the chapel is kind of the heart of camp, if you will. And slide 2 It's a really pretty picture. We'll get some new pictures since the snow is, I think, going to be gone. But it's one of our cabins. We have a total of 8 cabins, and each cabin has 8 bunk beds. We have 4 cabins for the girls, 4 for the boys. The girls' cabins all have new bunk beds. The boys' cabins have bunk beds that date back to the beginning of time, I believe. They are in rough shape, but we're hoping to get that changed. Each cabin has their own bathroom and their own shower stalls, so everything is very private. I know that prior to the new cabins, it was like a community shower in those things, and the toilet stalls just had a shower curtain going across. We don't have that anymore, so they're pretty nice. We have radiant floor heat in them, so they are really nice and cozy for all 3 of our winters. And then we have big exhaust fans in each one that makes it really nice and comfortable in our summer months. Slide number 3 is Vesper Hill. And I'm just going to trust Mike that they're all up there because I'm not turning around. This is a favorite spot. It's beautiful up there. Now, getting to the top is a little bit of a hike. And you will hear people going directly against Philippians 2:14. And I say that because Philippians 2:14 says we will do all things without grumbling and complaining, or something to that effect. And the reason I know that so well is because my daughter went to church camp, and when she was about 10 years old, that was the theme for that week. So every time she heard a grumbling word come out of my mouth, I would hear, "Mom, Philippians 2:14 says that you're not supposed to." And I'm like, okay, I get it. But the things they teach those kids at church camp, I tell you, that will be used against you, I promise. But anyway, you might hear a little bit of grumbling whenever the campers are having to hike up to the top of Vesper Hill. But it's gorgeous. The view from the top is like nothing you've ever seen. You just see the whole camp. So it's very pretty. Slide number 4 is the Pavilion. And this is typically the hub of camp. You'll find campers here anytime. Those boys, I don't know how they are at home, but at camp, they like to get up really, really early. And they go out of their cabins. They're out by 7 o'clock, and they're out at the pavilion or playing at the basketball court right there. They like hanging out. They have class time there, snack time there. And they just enjoy hanging out typically. So if, like I said, if the chapel is the heart of camp, then this is the fun place for camp. Slide number 5. This is another place that's really popular among the campers. It's the dining hall. And 3 times a day, just like clockwork, they get fed. It seems like you just finish one meal and it's time to eat again. And you're like, it can't be time to eat again. We're not even hungry. But they do enjoy good meals there. Their favorites are, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but Taco Tuesdays are big ones, right? And Chicken Alfredo, right? Okay, those are their 2 favorites. Love them. And they're really easy to please. And then for anyone who's been a camper there, you know the elbow rule, that if you put your elbows on the table while you're eating and you get caught, then the campers will call you out. And then they sing a little song, they'll say, "Gracie, Gracie, strong and able, get your elbows off the table." And it's pretty cute. And then you have to march around the dining hall and they sing a little song. And you would think that they would not like that. Like, wouldn't you be embarrassed by that? But they are not. And they'll intentionally put their elbows on the table so that they get called. And then eventually the campers will catch on and they'll be like, "No, that's Johnny's 5th time. We're not singing it anymore. We're done with him." The campers get their email or snail mail there as well. And they really like getting mail. So if you have campers there, I know my kids used to get a piece of mail from me, and now after seeing all of it, I feel terrible that I didn't post-date notes or things. But we do have Bunk 1 now too, and so you can just send an email. It's quick, it's easy, and they like those just as much. Slide number 6. this is just one of my favorite slides. It really shows the peace and tranquility at Camp Sonrise Mountain. It's something that just really needs to be experienced. All of our lives are so very busy that it's so nice to just take a step back and spend it quietly at camp. And the campers have quiet time as well, and they need it. Camp is really, really busy. We keep them hopping all day long, and if the campers don't need it, the counselors do. I can promise you that. Slide number 7 is summer camp. Gosh, it seems like it's been so long since we actually had a real summer camp, but we're relatively back to normal this year. The only change is we shortened the week by a day because we had to have adequate time for cleaning in between the groups. Normally, we had campers leaving on Saturday morning and new campers coming in Saturday afternoon. We are governed by the state of Maryland, and they're like, no, we need everything to be cleaned and disinfected. So it makes sense. It's fine. Nobody is upset about it. We just had to adjust our times a little bit. But we start camp with week 1, or our senior high campers, and a lot of these campers have attended since they were 8 years old, and they have formed really good, strong friendships. They might not see each other at any other time, but they really look forward to coming to camp every year. Slide number 8 is our next group is the junior high kids. Their kids going into 8th or 9th grade, and it's really fun to see how much these campers grow. I feel like the transition from week 3 to week 2 is like the biggest one. All of a sudden, in week 3, they're still little kids, but by the time they come to week 2, they've grown up. They've just matured so much. It's really fun to watch. These kids, all the campers, love playing basketball, gaga ball. They like KGB. That's Kids Gone Bad. It's really hide and seek in the dark, and the campers hide, and then the counselors go find them. They really enjoy that. Next slide is week 3, and these are for our kids entering 6th and 7th grade. For quite a number of years now, these kids get to experience Beach Day, and it's at the end of the week, and it's just a fun day for them. They have sand sculptures. I know Susie has almost all, I don't know, Kaylin, did you help too? But Susie was always our judge. I'm like, oh, that'd be so hard to judge those cute little creatures, but in the sand sculptures, but they really enjoy that. It's more fun when the weather cooperates and it's like 78 to 80 something, but we've had beach day on cold days with rain, and we have tons of fun either way. It doesn't really matter. Next slide. Now, let me tell you, I don't know, has anybody here ever counseled the little kids? No, nobody brave enough to do that. I get it. I've never counseled that week either. Those kids have energy galore. It is just, they're on the go the whole time, and you have to rein them in because they wear themselves out. But these kids really, they're so sweet, and it's so much fun to watch them. They love craft time. That's one of their favorite things, and pool time. They love that. Next slide. Last year, we had 5 little mini weeks of camp because of COVID, and that's all we were permitted to do. But we introduced then what we call beginner camp, and it's for campers who haven't been to camp before, and they're just not quite ready to be away from mom and dad for a whole week. So it's just a little mini week. This year it's going to be July 15th through the 17th, just 2 nights away. And they get to learn the camp songs, and it's just so much fun, and it just brings so much joy to your heart to watch them get to experience all of the first things about camp. Their first campfires, their first time away from home, and for some of them, it's the first time they've really experienced Jesus in a real way. Okay, next slide. So 1 week of camp really isn't enough for our campers. They really enjoy coming back. They look forward to our 2 retreats. Fall retreat is held the first weekend in November, and Arctic Blast is the third weekend in February. The retreats are for campers, I think 6th through 12th grade is the age group on that. And we're hoping to split that up, and we're hoping to have like a junior high session and then one for senior high, so that we can have things geared, the lessons and things geared more toward their age group. This past year, for Arctic Blast, we had 90 campers. That's the most we've ever had. But kids are ready to be back. They're ready to be back to camp, and maybe parents are ready for them to be gone too. But we had 90 campers, and it was a lot of fun. But we're looking forward. We'll see what fall brings. Next slide. Has anybody here ever been a quizzer, Bible quizzer? Yay! We have the Bible quizzers typically every year. It's just the regional quizzers, but last year they typically have their national competition in Findlay, but because of COVID still, they weren't permitted to go there. They weren't allowed to stay there. And so they came to Camp Sonrise Mountain, and they loved it so much they're coming back again this year. So that was really nice to be able to share that with people all across the nation from the churches of God. And let me tell you, I am not smarter than a Bible quizzer. Those kids know their stuff, and it was so much fun. I've never even watched them. My kid, Scotty, he was a Bible quizzer, but I'm ashamed to say I never went to watch. I didn't even know that was really a thing. And when you have other kids, you just don't focus on one sometimes, but they know right away before the words are out of the coach's mouth. They're jumping and they're ready to answer. So they're really good. Next slide. So we love all of our campers. We love our young'uns, and we love those who are young at heart. So we welcome several ladies groups at this time. We have 4 or 5 ladies groups that come every year for their overnight retreats, and one of them is the Allegheny Region Women's Group. But we would really like to see some men's groups in there. And if that's something that you guys any of you are interested in, just kind of like send me an email or something, some ideas that you might have so that we can make that happen. Men need God too, and you need time apart. And so it's really a great place for men too. Next slide. There are a few churches who hold their annual church picnics at Camp Sonrise Mountain. We would like to see that number increase. Some people bring their own food, and they set everything up at the pavilion or in the dining hall. Sometimes they want the camp staff to prepare their food, and that's okay. We're happy to go either way. The pool is open until the end of September, so you can enjoy, the pool time there. We can provide a lifeguard if you want one. So it's a great place to come, and you don't have to worry about the kids running into the road or anything like that. There's a lot for kids to do because we are a youth camp. Next slide. I forget what that one is. Okay. So I told you a little bit about how camp works, and I could really go on a lot longer, but I won't. But I just want to pause here for a minute to tell you why camp is so important. I think that a lot of you will agree that the world is an entirely different place from when people my age were young. Entirely different. The things going on in the world today are unlike anything I would ever in my wildest nightmare imagine. I just can't even believe some of this stuff. But, when I was young, we would get up on Saturday morning, and I'm really dating myself, but we would watch cartoons on Saturday mornings until 12 o'clock because that's all the longer cartoons were on. You didn't have Nickelodeon, you didn't have any of those other channels. We had 3 channels. I really do sound like my grandma, don't I? No, my grandma didn't even have TV, so never mind. But we had 3 channels. That was it. You didn't have cable. You had the rabbit ears. And you got to watch, does anybody remember Adventure Time with Paul Shannon? Yeah, Castle Shannon. You got to watch that after school. I think that was it was 30 minutes, maybe an hour at the longest, but it was not very long. And when that was over, out you went. You went outside and played, or you had to do your homework, of course, but you spent time outside. You spent time playing with your brothers and sisters or just your friends or things like that. But today, it's entirely different. Most kids today don't even get enough exercise. They only play outside an average of 4 minutes a day. And I think that average is just because maybe one day they were outside for 8 minutes and that was it. But it's kind of crazy. They're constantly plugged into something. Do you guys agree? You either have, they have, and guilty as charged sometimes too. Our cell phones, our notebooks, and what's the other name for a notebook? iPad, yeah. I don't know. When I think of a notebook, I think of a binder that has notebook paper in it or even a spiral. That's a notebook to me. But they're constantly plugged in. And during COVID, it was even worse for teachers and for kids because they had to spend their entire day in front of a computer. I can't even imagine all of that. But the statistics on that video show that they spend an average of 7.5 hours a day in front of some type of electronic device. And that video was from 6 years ago, so that number has only increased. It certainly hasn't decreased. So these kids are bombarded with messages and ads, and not all of them are good. You can't monitor everything that comes across their, the screen. Cell phones and all other electronic devices are not permitted at camp. We've had just the tiniest bit of pushback from a couple parents, but really not much, and their thought process is, well, how will I get in touch with my child if I need to? Well, you would call the camp. We actually have real telephones there. I don't know that they're landlines because I don't know that those even exist anymore. But we have a telephone. You can call it and somebody will pick up on the other end. And that's how you would do it. We are not so far back that you'd have to hop on your pony and ride there. But we don't allow cell phones. And there's a really good reason for that. One reason is they need to unplug. They feel, and I don't know that they would even admit it, but they feel pressure, and maybe they don't recognize it. But even as an adult, you feel pressured into responding to a text message, or you feel like you need to get on Facebook so that you can see if there's something that you might have missed. And so it's just a really good idea. Liability reasons as well. We can't have, campers taking pictures and putting them up on social media. And not intentionally, but there may be something in the background that shouldn't be seen. If, you're in a girl's cabin, if the girls are in a girl's cabin, obviously boys aren't allowed in there, but, somebody's walking behind you and you don't realize it, you snap a picture, a selfie, you throw it up there on social media, it's just not a good thing. But the kids really don't need to be plugged in all the time. This, like the video showed, they spend all this time connecting through social media and through their phones, but they don't really feel connected to anyone. They don't have that one-on-one time. They don't have that physical interaction, and that's what they need. And they need quiet, and they need stillness, and you don't get that whenever you're on your phone all the time. Campers and all kids need to know that their lives matter. They have a lot of friends. You look on Facebook and you say, well, I've got 1,284 friends. Well, do you really? Out of all of those people, are those all really your close and personal friends? They are not. And a lot of those people aren't your friends at all. And so it's really good for them to be at camp where they can interact with each other and with good, solid Christian role models. These kids today are faced with choices, and even every time I say that or read it, it just gives me chills, because I think of the decisions that these kids have to make and the choices that they're faced with, and it just really touches my heart in a way that they just have to be equipped and prepared to make these decisions on their own. At camp, these kids are immersed in a positive, faith-forming, and safe environment. Their lessons and the music, everything is so well planned out, and everything is thought of. And we go through a whole process to help them grow and strengthen their relationship with Christ. Each week during camp, these campers are given an opportunity to make a decision whether they want to follow Christ or not. And as much as we parents would like to make that decision for them, we can't. It's something that they have to do on their own. And it's a really important decision. And we just really want to share that message with them and strengthen that relationship with Christ, so that one day they can be the ones going out and preparing the way for the ones coming next. So those are just some of the reasons why camp is so important. The kids are given the opportunity to hear the Word of God. They can focus on their relationship with Christ, and we can give them the tools that they need to make it through this crazy, crazy life. They can leave camp knowing that they're fully loved by God. The suicide rate is outrageous anymore. And some of these kids, 12 years old, just feel like they don't matter, like there's nothing about them. They're not special, they're not important. But that can all be changed by a week away at camp. It really can. So now that you know a little bit more about the camp ministry, maybe you feel that God's calling you. And I will not call anyone out, Nikki. Maybe God feels that he's calling you, Kathy. Well, say it. I'm just using names I know. I'm not really calling anybody out. But maybe you do. Seriously, you would want to be more involved, and that's great. And if you do, and it doesn't have to be counseling at camp. There are all kinds of things that you can do at Camp Sonrise Mountain. There are ways that you can serve. But it all might be new to you. Just reach out to me, call me, email me, text me. I'm not a fan of cell phones, if you can't tell. But anyway, they're a part of our lives, and now I don't know what I'd do without it. Okay, so here are some ways that you can help at Camp Sonrise Mountain. We'll go to the next slide. And prayer is always, always first and foremost what we need at camp. Satan is always trying to mess with us. You know, he's always trying to destroy something good, and camp is good. Last week, the walk-in cooler broke, and so I noticed it last Saturday, and I went and there's nothing I could do about it. I mean, there's no food in it right now, so it doesn't matter. It was beeping, so I knew that something had gone wrong. On Monday, I called to get it fixed. Tuesday, they came out to repair it, and Wednesday, I found out that I went into the ladies' room in the dining hall, and the hot water wasn't working. I'm like, really? We just had the cooler, and now this isn't working. And then day before yesterday, I walked into, I lifted the lid on the chest freezer in the kitchen, and everything was thawed. I'm like, wow, we are really getting bombarded here. And I know they're little things, but then God came through, and he said, you know what, take a look at the breakers. And I did, and here the guy who came to fix the outdoor cooler turned off one of our breakers. I'm not really sure why, but at least, you know, it was a blessing in disguise, because we needed to clean out that freezer anyway, and it got cleaned out, and then but we didn't have to put out any money, and that was good. The other way you can support camp is through Amazon Smile. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It doesn't cost anything, but if you shop on Amazon, you would just go to Amazon Smile instead, and you would buy whatever you want to buy. It's no different in price than it is just on the regular Amazon site, but you would choose Camp Sonrise Mountain as your charity of choice. And then every quarter, Amazon sends us a little bit of money. And, every little bit helps because, $50 or $55, that could pay a registration fee for a camper who can't afford to pay it. So Amazon Smile is good. We also have an Amazon wish list for camp, things that we could use. If we don't get them, we purchase them, and that's okay too. But it's just things, sometimes people would rather buy something specific that they know is going to camp than to donate money, and that's okay. But we can always use financial support as well. We do a lot of things with that money, from just taking care of the monthly expenses to, helping pay for camper fees. Next slide. You can also volunteer to be a counselor. Specifically, all counselors are welcome and loved, but if you are a nurse or an EMT, we are always looking for people to fill those positions as well. If you want to come and help in the kitchen, you're welcome to do that. Last year, we had a couple people that did that, and they loved it. So it's just a one-day thing. If you just want to come for a day and help serve the campers, even just for one meal, you can do that. You can volunteer or participate in future events that we plan. We have a golf outing for any of you golfers for September 24th. It's going to be held at Kings Mountain, and there will be more information going out on that. We are planning a calendar party. I'm not sure that we're going to get it off the ground this year. But we're hoping to, if we have enough time. Good problem to have. We just don't have enough weekends that aren't booked in camp. We have a lot of weekends that are booked, so we don't want to kick out our renters. So we will definitely look at that for next year, if not later on this year. And we're going to have a chili cook-off. And there will be more information on that as well. But what our idea is to have the churches involved. So we would get somebody from Buchanan that has this amazing chili recipe, and you come to camp. We'll have different things. We'll have a craft show and things like that. But you bring your best chili recipe and your people, and we'll have a chili cook-off, and we'll see who wins. Next slide. We just had work day yesterday, and I honestly did not have time to take this slide out, and I thought, well, that's okay. I'm going to leave the slide in anyway, because we have work day every year. And it was really well attended last year. Just to give you an example, last year we had 2 work days because we thought, well, people can't always come on this Saturday. We'll plan it for 2 Saturdays. We had a total of 5 people last year, 3 on one Saturday and 2 on the next one. But this year we had a record high of 25 people, and they got a lot of work done. But there's still a lot more to do. So anytime you want to come to camp and help, if you want to get a Sunday school group together, or a church group, or a group of friends, or former campers, or whatever you want to do, you can come anytime. You would just need to call and make sure we don't have a group there, but you're welcome to come. It's hard to plan something just for one day because a lot of people have things going on. Next slide. And the last way that you could help is, this is our newest campaign. It's called the Adopt a Campfire Site. As you can see, it's kind of hard to see from the pictures, but the campfire sites are really in need of repair. And we had a group come last weekend. In the bottom, you can see the Garden of Gethsemane, what it looked like before, and then what it looked like after. And just to give you an idea, what this group did is they came and they brought their lumber. They had come out beforehand, and they just, measured what they would need. And they came prepared. They brought their lumber, And then they went up, and we have a four-wheeler and we have a tractor, the big tractor to help get supplies to a campfire site. But they came up and they started working around 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11 o'clock they were finished. It's not a real long time commitment. It's just what we would ask is that as a group, you would come and you would look it over and you would determine what you need to make that campfire site usable again. And then you come clean it up. Maybe some of them only just need cleaned up, but I think that most all of them need benches replaced. And then you just come and do the work. They seem to have a lot of fun. They actually, if you notice in the picture, there's already been, they christened it with their own campfire. They had a campfire and they roasted hot dogs because that's what they wanted to do. And that's great. So I get how busy our lives can be, but sometimes investing some time into the lives of our campers is something that is priceless, and it's so worth your time and your investment. So I think that's about all I have for now. If you had any questions about anything, you can see me afterward. But if you do feel that God is calling you to be a part of this amazing ministry, I just highly encourage you to talk to me and to be a part. You are not ever going to be too young, and you are never going to be too old. I just received a wonderful gift from she'll still always be my neighbor, of crocheted dishcloths. And we love them. And so it's just something as simple as that, just thinking about camp and doing something small, because it really does help to make a difference in the end. So let's close with prayer. Dear Father, I just come before you today, and I thank you so much for this beautiful weather. And I just praise you for being such an awesome God. You are constantly taking care of us and helping us both in our work and in our leisure time, and we thank you so much for that. We thank you, Lord, for sharing the beauty of your creation with us, no matter what the season is. If we're in our first winter or our 12th winter, it doesn't matter. We are just so thankful to have you as part of our lives, and to know that you are always guiding us and preparing us for whatever happens next. Lord, I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here today and talk about camp. And I just lift up all of the campers to you, Lord, the campers who have gone on, who are no longer attending camp, they've grown up and they've moved on, or the campers who have yet to come to Camp Sonrise Mountain. I just lift them all up and ask that you watch over them and that you just guide them and protect them. And I also lift up to you, Lord, all of the people who are involved with camp in any way, shape, or form. You know who they all are. They are our helpers, our prayer warriors. They're the people who just love camp, and those who even haven't experienced camp yet. I just ask that you provide all of them with your wisdom and encouragement throughout the year. And I ask, Lord, that you just continue to bless camp so that we can continue to teach the campers and tell them about you and your amazing, amazing love. I ask all these things in your precious name. Amen. Thank you so much. I think Mark will come back up. And I did want to say I'm glad you worked all the bugs out before I came up.